AOPA's 2009 Summit is winding to a close. A very nice, very interesting 3 days. Been doing a lot of flying, a lot of looking, and a lot of fellowship with some folks out here just simply trying to stay alive in tough times. So let's take a look back at the week that was for AOPA's 2009 Summit. There were just a few major announcements from vendors or industry players, and a look at the floors pretty much showed that vendors were not as cautiously upbeat as they had been at NBAA or Oshkosh. Still, people involved in aviation are as enthusiastic as they've always been and every bit as passionate, as well as the fact that they're, at this point, very much aware of the issues that are facing their industry, but frankly have less of an idea about what to do with them. Big thing, though, on the floor, especially in the exhibit areas, is that technology is capturing every pilot's imagination. Some of the best attended sessions throughout the event had to do with the latest in new technology. The economy is not affecting everybody's flying. Several people talked about continuing to fly as much as before, though those that aren't are the pilots for whom aviation is more of an avocation. The portrayal of GA in at least some segments of the mainstream media is viewed very negatively by the status quo here in the aviation world. Some talked about stories similar to that seen in USA Today and local as well as national publications and not being happy with the process, but not having a whole lot of answers as to how to fight it. The biggest announcement, though, came from Cessna, believe it or not, in that they've seen a spike in single-engine piston sales over the last 2 months. Some of that is incentive-driven, and yet it could signal some consumer confidence if people are buying airplanes again. 2 months does not a trend make, but where single-engine piston sales were seen as the, quote, canary in the coal mine at the beginning of the recession, some have said that it could also be their first harbinger of spring. Certainly there's a long way to go, and a double-dip recession is definitely a real possibility, but it could also be a peg on which to hang some of our hopes. When we walked into AOPA 2009, we didn't think a whole lot of news was going to be made, and while it's definitely a departure from years past, there were about a dozen items that really caught our attentions this year. Let's face it, Avidyne's EX600 and DFC-90 autopiloted announcements definitely took the world by storm, especially when you take a look at the technology that they're bringing to fore, including envelope protection. PS Engineering showed up with a upgraded PMA 6000 called the PMA 6000B. A 15-year-old audio panel that's been in hundreds upon hundreds of airplanes over the years has now been upgraded and given a facelift for 2009. Cirrus has adopted R9 as a factory option. And of course, we now have an idea of what's going to be happening to Piper leadership as Kevin Gould takes over with the departure of John Becker. We were enthused to see that the refit market is strong, with Warp 9 leading the way, with refit SR-22s, with Tornado Alley Technologies turbocharged system, and of course R9 for the cockpits. Hawker Beach told us about EVS now for both the Baron and Bonanza series. We were able to publish the very first flight test of Cessna's Skycatcher, and boy did we have a ball. We talked to Cessna's Jack Pelton on the floor, who was amused at the fact that I couldn't find anything wrong with the airplane. And to be honest, I've been thinking about it for 3 days and I still can't. We had a chance to spend some time with the Aspen Avionics folks, who have just introduced Evolution Software Rev 2, a significant upgrade to their system, and in fact flew a 3-tube installation around Peter OKnight Airport Saturday morning. And finally, for those of you who really got to tweak your diamonds, Premier Aircraft Sales now has a Premier Edition of the DA40 XLS. For the Aero-News Network and for Aero-TV, this is Jim Campbell.
Aero-TV is brought to you by...
If you own a Cirrus today, or if you are considering the purchase of a new or used aircraft, consider this. Avidyne, in conjunction with the country's leading Cirrus sales and maintenance facilities, has launched the G3R9 program that combines the purchase of a late-model, low-time Cirrus aircraft and the addition of the Avidyne Integra Release 9 Avionics suite for much less than you may have thought, and certainly much less than purchasing a brand new aircraft. G3R9, combining the best airframe, best engine, and best avionics for the best value.